dari Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani Ngaglik, Sleman. Inilah Radio BBM, jaringan radio komunitas Yogyakarta.
Radio Komunitas Balai Budaya Minomartani. Radio Budaya, Radio Warga, Radio Kita Bersama.
Hello Warga Budaya. Thank you for listening to BBM FM Community Radio, Yogyakarta, Indonesia.
Community Radio BBM FM, Creation for Nation.
Radio Komunitas BBM FM, dukunglah budaya Indonesia.
107,7 Radio BBM FM. Hai warga budaya, balik lagi sama aku Habibah
dan aku Dita
di siaran Mbahtromulur. Nambah mitra ketemu sedulur. Oke warga budaya, gimana nih kabarnya hari ini? Semoga selalu sehat dan puasanya lancar-lancar ya. Oke, dan hari ini di siaran Mbahtromulur nih kita ada yang spesial, beda dari siaran-siaran sebelumnya gitu. Apa nih Dita?
Karena kita ada mukanya kali.
Iya, ada muka.
Tapi kayaknya bukan juga. Ini dong ada
Special guest star. Jadi di siaran ini kita akan ya bincang-bincang gitu, kita talk show gitu, secara apa ya, secara santai gitu sama our special guest star gitu.
So maybe should we start now?
Oke, boleh. Langsung aja ya kita mulai buat tanya-tanya ke special guest star kita. Langsung aja maybe you can introduce yourself first.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Julie Gaines. I am from the United States of America. My hometown is Chicago, Illinois, in the center of the United States. And now I live in Los Angeles, in the far west of the country. And I have been coming to Georgia off and on for 10 years. The first time I was here was 10 years ago. In 2013, I worked as a professor of English for 2 years at UGM. And then I came back and decided to pursue my master's and PhD on art and culture in Indonesia. And so that has brought me back again and again to Jogja and also to NNT where I focus my research now.
Cool, so cool, keren ya.
So interesting.
Oke, jadi Intinya, can we call you Mbak Julie?
Sure, of course.
Okay. It's okay. Oke, jadi untuk warga budaya, jadi Mbak Julie ini udah di Indonesia sekitar 10 tahun, ya, sekitar 10 tahun dan pernah menjadi dosen praktisi di FIB UGM. Is it true? Yeah.
Yes. So I have been, I have been coming to Indonesia off and on for 10 years, but I would say the total amount of time I have been in Indonesia has been about 4 years.
No, 4 years. Okay.
So, your first time go to Indonesia is like 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Wow. And Jogja is the first place when you visit Indonesia?
Yes, Jogja was the first place I ever visited in Indonesia, and this is where I learned to speak Indonesian, and this is where I learned how to be an adult. I came to Indonesia 2 weeks after I graduated from college.
Wow.
And so this was my my first job, my first apartment, my first experience as an independent young woman was all in Yogyakarta. So this is a very special place for me.
Okay. But do you have like a special reason why you choose Indonesia after you graduate your study?
Yes, when I was in college, I was interested in 3 things. The first was the anthropology of religion, so religious studies. The second was in creative writing, in storytelling.
Okay.
And the third was in performing arts. I have a history of doing performance acrobatics. So I knew that Indonesia was a place that valued storytelling and also had a wide diversity of religions.
Yes.
And so I thought that Indonesia would be a place where I could go and explore my curiosity and also witness a lot of amazing performing and visual art.
Okay.
So when you first came to Indonesia, you were still so young, I guess.
I was still very young. Yes, I was 22.
It's so cool.
And you go here, go Indonesia alone or just like with your family or your friends?
Yes, I came here alone. It's funny actually. In Indonesia, people always ask like sendirian, asking if people go. But we have a different way of looking at solitude or independence. We call it mandiri. So it's we maybe differently from people in Indonesia, Americans and also Europeans are more accustomed if you're a man or a woman to travel alone. So my family, my friends could not come with me to Indonesia, but I wanted to go, so I decided to come on my own.
Yeah, that's true.
That's cool.
Like Indonesians, especially as like a woman, it's so maybe it's better to go with someone than alone. Like we are not allowed to go alone, especially.
So I find that's also true in Mbahtromulur. And maybe the reason why I feel as a woman comfortable traveling alone is because I have traveled to many countries by myself and have learned techniques to keep myself safe. And also women in the United States are taught certain techniques like don't talk to strangers, don't trust everyone you meet, those sorts of things. And if we follow those techniques, generally we are very safe.
Nice tips.
Nice tips. Okay, now maybe we can talk about your experiences when you teach in UGM. Maybe you can explain to warga budaya like how's your experience during teach college student.
It was amazing. I did not expect my experience to be so wonderful. I'm used to the United States culture of competitive classrooms. And I was so happy that while I was teaching English at UGM, the students collaborated a lot in class.
Oh yeah.
So I was able to have a lot of fun creating fun activities surrounding English for students. And one of my favorite classes I ever taught was creative writing for junior, and it was an elective for junior and senior level students. And my students had so many talents. I was amazed. Some wrote poetry, some wrote songs, some wrote theater. And they all compiled their work into books at the end of the semester. And I was so impressed by the creativity of the students. So until today, it is one of the reasons, working in Georgia is one of the reasons why still today I want to become a professor.
Oh my god. Cool. Okay. So, you really like we can say you're gimana ya? Mungkin merasa banyak tantangan juga. I mean like I feel like you face many challenges during teach UGM student. Like so, but it's I think it's like a good experience for you.
How could you tell us how like the challenges part when you taught
UGM
college
students?
When I taught college students struggles, I would say sometimes the jam karet issue was not as much for my undergraduate students as much as for my students in Pasca Sarjana or my graduate students. Sometimes the jam karet would cause them to arrive late. Sometimes I would have sometimes my students would there were plagiarism, and I would have to have honest conversations with my students about how they had to believe in themselves so they would not copy their friends' work, and that to learn sometimes is to work independently and not always rely on your friends. So that was sometimes difficult. Otherwise, most of my challenges were not as much about at UGM, because I really did enjoy teaching, but mostly just as an American adapting to culture here. That was most of my challenge in my especially my first year here.
Oh yeah. Maybe we can say it's like a culture shock for you.
Yes, there were many culture shocks when I came to live here.
Okay, and since you in Indonesia a long time, I believe that you have like many experiences or see Indonesian culture, like traditional culture. So, do you have any experiences to like practice or see some culture in Jogja,
Especially in Georgia? Yes.
Yeah.
So when I first arrived in Georgia, I wanted to make friends by doing extracurricular activities.
Oh yeah.
So I tried to start an acrobatics group.
Wow.
But maybe the students were not kurang berani. Yeah, they were not ready to do acrobatics with me. And so no one showed up for the club. And so I realized I had to integrate myself into groups that were already existing. So I joined the UKJGS, the Lengkeng mahasiswa. So I learned traditional Javanese dance. And made many friends there. And then I also joined classes at UNY for Balinese dance. So it was an amazing way for me to meet locals. And actually, the classes at UNY, I was the only adult among all the...
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I had to humble myself and admit that I could either menjaga gengsi and not learn, or I could merendahkan diri or hati and learn a skill. And I had an amazing experience by giving up my pride and trying different things that made me feel very humble. And I'm very grateful for those experiences.
So, what's the most memorable experience? Well, the time or the funniest maybe?
The funniest experience while dancing, performing, or the whole time I was in.
The whole time in Jogja. Second time.
Time in Jogja. Oh man, there are too many. Too many funny things that happened. Maybe I will say like some of the most amazing surprises came when I think people in Jogja are very spontaneous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember I joined an acrobatics dance troupe called Chakil Squad my second year in Jogja, and they were like a wild bunch of dancers. We would practice until late, until midnight. And then sometimes we would perform, and then sometimes the performers wouldn't show up, and so that like the way that we would have to adapt in order to make events happen, I think was sometimes funny and challenging and valuable to me because it's very different from the American culture, which is very much about perfection. And here in Jogja, it's about family and making things happen, even if they're not perfect. So sometimes we have to laugh at ourselves, not think about making it perfect. And that has been a very valuable lesson.
Oh my god.
Oh, jadi gini warga budaya. Jadi ini tadi tuh Mbak Juli udah cerita-cerita gimana dia dari ini ya Mbak, di UGM ngajar terus kayak merasa ini juga
Culture shock.
Iya, culture shock juga. Terus juga sempat join kelas akrobatik ya di UNY gitu. Nah, terus enggak. Latihan tarian Bali dan Jawa gitu. Terus katanya tuh ini yang bikin memorable banget pas di Jogja tuh beda. Kalau di Amerika kan lebih mentingin perfeksionis gitu. Nah, kalau di Jogja tuh sukanya tuh nggak perlu terlalu perfect, yang penting tuh jadi gitu. Yang penting rasa
keluarga pakai hati.
Iya.
Yang penting pakai hati.
Yes.
Keren banget sih kalau mendengar pengalaman Mbak Juli selama di Jogja gitu. Nah, mungkin kita akan dengar lagi nih soal the other experience, tapi setelah jeda berikut ini. Jadi kita mau jeda sebentar dan kita akan lanjut lagi setelah jeda untuk ngobrol-ngobrol lebih lanjut sama Mbak Juli tentang the other experience selama dia di Indonesia gitu. Jadi kita jeda dulu. Jadi tetap stay tune di
BBM FM.
Dari Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani Ngaglik Lembang, inilah Radio BBM, jaringan radio komunitas Yogyakarta.
Radio Komunitas Balai Budaya Minomartani. Radio Budaya, Radio Warga, Radio Kita Bersama.
Community Radio BBM FM, Creation for Nation.
Radio Komunitas BBM FM, dukunglah budaya Indonesia.
Oke warga budaya, balik lagi di siaran Mbahtromulur. Oke, setelah jeda seperti yang kita janjiin ya, setelah kita ngobrol tentang perkenalan Mbak Juli, gimana sih keseharian apa ya
Awal-awal di Jogja gitu.
Sebagai orang Jogja gitu selama 10 tahun gitu. Nah, sekarang kita mau bahas nih tentang Mbak Juli's experience when in NTT maybe. Ya. Okay, maybe I want to read the question first. Okay. So I heard that you have some research in NTT. So maybe what made you interested in conducting research on women healers in NTT?
Well, I at first was just interested in the supernatural and how people, I guess, use ancestors or invisible forces in nature to heal people, and also ancestral wisdom. Because we're so focused on modern science that sometimes we forget about our inherited knowledge, right? So first, I was interested. I met a dukun or molan, and the Lama Holot region of Lembata, and then I started interviewing people, and I came home, and I realized almost all of my interviews are with men. With men.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, where are the women? Where are the women? So from that I decided, okay, I'm sure there are women healers, but maybe they are not so outspoken. So my job as a teacher, as a writer, as a scholar, I feel, is to find the voices that are not often platformed or not kurang disuarakan. So I went back to the region of Lembata, and I exclusively looked for women healers, and usually they were dukun bersalin or midwives, and they used a mixture of herbal medicine and energetic healing to heal people. So I started out because I met people who had kelebihan khusus that to heal people from spiritual illness or physical illness, and I thought it would be a challenge and a worthwhile challenge to work with women who are kurang disuarakan in a region that was also kurang diwakilkan dalam konteks Indonesia. So, and then also working on healing, it was also a way of talking about the importance of spirituality, and maintaining our physical health.
Okay, so we can say that most of NTT people lebih dekat dengan spiritual untuk menyembuhkan penyakit daripada dokter yang profesional begitu.
Okay. So actually, I think it's not so different from Java. I think that maybe if we go ke perdesaan di Jawa, there are many people who still rely on dukun. So it is actually the same in NTT, but maybe more research has been done on Java and Bali, right? In Sumatra. There is not so much research done in NTT.
So much research in NTT.
So tidak ada banyak orang yang meneliti tentang NTT. So I figured I would maybe help scholarship by researching an area that not many people have written about in English, right? So also many scholars who have written about NTT, especially the Lama Holot region, are clergy. Like mereka Romo, para Romo atau biarawan, biarawati. So of course Romo maybe will not know the perspective of women. So I figured, I'm sorry, and to go back to your question, I feel like yes, it's true that healthcare is not as strong as it is here in Java. But I think it is also treated as complementary medicine. So they have both. They do have clinics, but they also have dukun.
Yeah.
And especially in the pergunungan, where there are like hospitals are far away from the villages, they really rely on the dukun bersalin to help women give birth and have and maintain healthy babies.
Oh yeah, maybe some of the reason why they rely on dukun bersalin is maybe lebih dekat dengan rumah mereka atau the limited access to healthcare. I think that's some of the reason.
Yes, and also
Their beliefs.
And the beliefs
Yeah,
also,
Yes.
and then also the cost sometimes of healthcare. So sometimes it is less expensive to have a dukun bersalin come to their home and treat them with herbal medicine. And sometimes actually they believe that the dukun bersalin, although they have not been trained medically, they have a lot of practical experience.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it depends on their belief, it depends on their financial situation, and it depends on their location.
Okay. So by the way, the specific place when you in NTT, where the specific place
While you
for you
research
to
in
research.
NTT.
Okay, so maybe I think a lot of people here in Java have heard like the song from Maumere. Yeah.
Oh, Maumere.
Yeah. So
I
if you go east from Maumere, eventually you will get to the eastmost point of Flores, and that is Larantuka. There is a city called Larantuka, and from Larantuka in Flores Timur, East Flores, you can go to 3 islands.
Oh.
So Kepulauan Solor is
Solor?
Solor. There's Solor, there's Lembata, and there's Adunara. And many years ago, it was all di bawah satu kerajaan. So Kerajaan Lama Holot.
Oh, Lama.
And so the markasnya, the base was in Larantuka, but they also like had a unifying culture that unified clans in Adunara, Lembata, and Solor. So they all speak the same language, mostly the same language, Lama Holot. Yeah.
Okay. So we need to cross some islands to go there, or
yes. So if you want to go to Lembata,
Lembata,
you will have to either take a boat or fly to either Maumere or Larantuka, and then you'll have to go to the port in Larantuka and take a boat, and the boat will take you first to Adunara, and then even farther away is Lembata. So Lembata is about 2 or 3 hours by boat from Larantuka.
I think it's so like a complicated way to go there.
Yes.
So it's like a remote area.
Yes, I guess you can call it remote, although now everybody has smartphones.
Yeah.
I would say maybe 8 years ago, 5 years ago, it was not that way. First, the priests all got smartphones, and now, especially since COVID, many of the young people now have cell phones. Even in the villages.
Oh yeah.
So yes, it is remote, but also there is a lot of exposure to Javanese culture, to culture outside the country. So it's an interesting contrast between like pelosok, like village culture, and then also exposure dari luar.
Oke, jadi walaupun termasuk daerah pelosok, maybe the limited access to go there, tapi mereka secara teknologi mereka tidak jauh tertinggal sama Jawa.
Ya, hanya kadang-kadang jaringannya kurang bagus.
Oh ya.
So they don't have as much streaming capabilities, but many of them actually watch TikTok and YouTube videos from Java.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I asked them, where do you learn about the United States, or where do you learn about global politics? And they say like, oh, ada konten dari Jawa.
Oh yeah.
They say they learn a lot of their political content or news content from popular figures on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
so while you were in Nusa Tenggara, like, did you do another activities like other than just a research? What other activities do you do?
Okay, so I volunteer full time as a high school teacher, and actually I don't volunteer as a. So my first role is not as a researcher. Actually, this time I have come as a volunteer. I come as a volunteer, and I'm teaching seni budaya or art and culture at a high school in Aranara. And so every day I go to school and I teach them about aktivis seni. Caranya seni bisa dipakai sebagai alat untuk menyuarakan kebutuhan masyarakat.
Oh wow.
So I try to encourage them to explore art or storytelling or engage with creative activities in order to, I hope, encourage them to maybe create art in the future so that more people in the NTT bisa ditampilkan dalam kebudayaan Indonesia.
Yeah.
So they could like more express their through the art.
Yeah, but like sometimes when I'm teaching at the high school and I ask them to talk about what is Indonesian culture, they will often refer to culture in Java or refer to culture in Bali because maybe they don't see their NTT culture broadcast on television or in pariwisata or in tourism as like culture here in Jogja or in Bali. So
Yes, I see. Like when it's come to Nusa Tenggara, we tend to think about their nature, but their cultures is like less than in Java. Maybe in broadcasting, I mean.
Yeah. So many of the women are excellent weavers, so they weave traditional cloth, kain tenun. But and sometimes increasingly people are interested in creating theater to melestarikan tradisi mereka. Yeah, but I would say like there's no like wayang wong or wayang kulit like there is in Java and Bali. So they kind of have to create a performing arts culture themselves.
Wow.
They do have traditional dances, but most of them are for rituals.
Oh, for ritual.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Usually the dance usually used when people outside visit their village or their area. Is it true or I never see.
Yeah,
I never see that.
Actually, sometimes some of the most interesting dance, you can call it dance. They have something called tari sole, whereas people hold hands, and actually the region is both Catholic and Muslim, and people of different religions in a village hold hands in a circle, and there are two people in the circle who have inherited the ability to tell stories of their ancestors, and then they have like a rhythmic step, and they dance together in a circle. And they say that to dance in this way, tari sole, is to remind their ancestors to protect them. So it's actually just for them. It's for them so that they can feel connected to their land and feel connected to their ancestors.
So, have you ever tried this dance?
I have tried this dance.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it. The steps are sometimes complicated, and they move from slow to fast.
Oh yeah.
And while we dance, there are people who tell, like usually two people who dengan secara menyambung, they tell a story of the local village or the past. So I feel very privileged when I join because I feel part of something ancient, you know.
Yes, I know. That's so interesting.
That's interesting. Okay, so that's all maybe like your experiences during in NTT, and yeah, we're going to like break for a second, yeah, and we will continue our
Discussions.
our discussion, our sharing session after the break.
Dari Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani Ngaglik Lembang. Inilah Radio BBM, jaringan radio komunitas Yogyakarta.
Radio Komunitas Balai Budaya Minomartani. Radio Budaya, Radio Warga, Radio Kita Bersama.
Community Radio BBM FM, Creation for Nation.
Radio Komunitas BBM FM. Dukunglah budaya Indonesia.
Oke warga budaya, balik lagi di siaran Mbahtromulur sama Dita dan juga Mbak Juli. Oke, setelah kita mendengar nih beberapa pengalaman Mbak Juli selama berada di NTT dan tentang research dia gitu. Sekarang kita bisa beralih ke topik lainnya ya Dit
Ya,
ya.
topik yang mungkin lebih santai gitu, lebih menyenangkan. Soal ini,
Hobby and interest.
So, do you have any kind of unique hobbies maybe?
Or maybe you can explain or just sharing your about acrobat performance, your performance, yeah.
Sure. So my hobbies differ depending on whether or not I am in Indonesia or I am at home. But I have many hobbies. I love creative writing. I love and I love movement and acrobatics. So I was a gymnast for many years, and when I was in college, I joined the circus in my college. Yes.
Wow.
And then when I was in Jogja, actually, I performed with a dance acrobatics troupe called Chakil Squad. They're still performing, actually. But then now that I am in Los Angeles, I am part of a community of acrobats, and we meet every Sunday in Santa Monica, right by the beach, and we practice acrobatics together.
Wow.
And sometimes we do this 3 times a week. And it's a way of staying fit, but also exploring balance and I think and trust as well. It's been a really important part of my life until today. And now that I am here in Indonesia, I don't have my acrobatics community, but I draw. I like to draw. I started drawing when I was in Jogja, actually. So sometimes I draw because there are some things as a writer that I feel like I cannot express completely in words. So I use images.
Wow, so cool. Like you really like movement. So since you in your hometown, you really like to join like acrobat and circus, and in Indonesia you also join like UKJGS, like community traditional dance. And wow, that's really good. Yeah. Well, I'm as like Javanese person. Like, I never joined like that community because like I'm not sure like what is that like. I'm not sure I can perform well to dance like traditional dance. So yeah, that's cool.
Well, one thing I think is as a teacher and as a we say lifelong learner. Seorang yang selalu belajar secara otodidak ya.
Oh yeah.
There are people who say bisa bilang saya orang sarjana tapi pada dasarnya saya orang otodidak. So I think that we can always learn new things, and I think every skill we learn is a language, and so I think everyone has the capacity to dance.
Yes.
Everyone has the capacity to draw.
Yeah.
Everybody has the capacity to learn English
Yeah.
or learn Indonesian. Bisa tua, bisa muda, it can be at any age. So because of that, I always build new hobbies because I think that if it doesn't matter if you're perfect, the important thing is can you communicate and how does it make you feel?
Yeah. That's
so
true.
I cannot dance Javanese dance. I'm very bad Javanese dancer. So terrible. But I love the experience of
The
dancing
experience.
because it makes me feel humble. It makes me feel connected to Javanese culture. And it makes me feel humbled to a tradition that is much older than anything I have ever witnessed in the United States. Like Javanese dance, like America is a new culture. New country. Javanese dance has been here
a long time ago.
So it doesn't matter. So if I just give up my pride, then I can appreciate that. You know?
Yes, actually, when in my childhood, I often do like perform like traditional dance, something like that. But it's just like in an annual event. And But now, like when I'm getting older, it's like I have lost my confidence or something like that.
Same here. Like I lost my confidence to dance. Like how to move when it's like my body is kaku, you know. So I lost my confidence to do traditional dance. When I'm in childhood, I also ever joined like some traditional dance performances. So I think it's cool. But for now, maybe no.
There's okay.
But I think like to build hobbies is very important because sometimes when we build hobbies and passions, then we don't gossip as much, we are not so sad, we are not spending all of our time on YouTube or Instagram or criticizing ourselves, right? So I think the more hobbies we have, maybe the more happy we are. Even if we don't do them perfectly. If you like cooking, you should cook. If you like dancing, you should dance. If you like, so I think there's an idea that adults are too old to learn something new, and I think that is a myth.
Actually, Habibah, they also do in gamelan.
I joined like my program study. My program study have a little community to perform gamelan. So in this year, like this community, the name of the community is Gasita. Miss Dewi as our supervisor. And this year like Gasita baru mulai bangkit setelah pandemi, karena kan pandemi kita terhalang untuk practice. So setelah pandemi kita baru mulai latihan lagi gitu. And we usually practice gamelan here and the second floor because Bali Budaya has a lot of gamelan. So that's cool. And we're going to have like a big event in this year.
Wonderful. So you have experienced trying something new as an adult. And you enjoy it.
This is my first time to join like this community, like a gamelan community. Is my first time. This is my first time because since I was young, I never joined that kind of community. So this, it's a good experience for me to learn more about my culture.
one thing I will say I would hope, I dream of happening in Indonesia, in NTT, but also here, is that there are more groups for adults, like group baca.
Baca.
So like I started a group baca, or a reading group, over COVID with my friends in different parts of the United States, and we would agree to read one book, and then after 1 month we would come back and berdiskuss it.
Oh, wow.
And now we are best friends. We are best friends. And I think it's amazing because I think Indonesia there are so many stories here that have not yet been written down.
Yes.
So one way to encourage adults to write and tell stories, I think, is to read. So it is my hope that in the future there will be like lebih banyak grup baca, especially for women who like to read or write literature. Yeah, that is one activity that is very precious to me, that I do hope to share one day here in Indonesia.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
So that's nice. Like you mentioned before that you have a lot of new hobbies in Indonesia, and one of them is like drawing.
Yes.
Like what kind of drawing that you like, or apa yang apakah you have your own style when you draw your art or something? Maybe you can explain that.
Yeah. So there are people who say that my art is sedikit seram atau aneh atau surreal, because I think that there are I think art is a way to express things that we cannot take a photograph of. There are things that are inside of us that need to come out. Yeah, that we feel. So sometimes I feel, like when I'm talking to you, I can be, very put together or polished or halus. But when it comes to our emotions, there are things that we keep inside of us.
Yes.
And so sometimes one way to release those negative emotions is to draw them.
That's true.
So sometimes I am inspired by images or trees or animals, and sometimes I draw them, but then I turn them into something strange because it helps symbolize how I feel. So I use sometimes paint, acrylic paint, or sometimes just marker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's more like you use your imagination to like to mengembangkan your arts.
Yes.
Something like that.
And also the other way around. I use art to help work my imagination, because our imagination itu seperti otot. Imajinasi itu seperti otot.
You need to like work, practice, and so our imaginations can be expressed more while we express it.
Yes. So like if you like to sing, or you like to draw, or you like to play gamelan, or you like to dance, like the body or our creativity can be an extension of our mind, I think.
Oh, so cool. And I'm sure that some people ever saw your arts. So what their preferences, or what they think about your arts? Maybe you mentioned before that you say that your drawing is agak seram or something like that. So what's people's reference? What people
say about that?
Say about your art?
Some people say they don't understand, or some people say that they really appreciate what I draw because they feel the same way. Sometimes, like I like expose things that I think are human, but that are not necessarily like what most people talk about. But also, I will say I'm not trained, tidak dilatih sebagai seniman. So my art is sangat kasar. Gayanya sangat kasar. So I also recognize that not everybody will like my art. But most people
But-
who talk to me, they say they like it, but they like it because they say it tells a story.
Yes, maybe because they can feel what you want to express at that art.
Yeah. So it's like they do not appreciate like, they don't say like, oh, sometimes they say, oh, Julie, you were a good drawer, but kebanyakan itu, oh, like I like, it's like, oh, your art is moving, maybe in a good way or a bad way, but it expresses something.
They can feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, many people have their own style with their art, so I think it's okay. So, and I'm really curious with your arts, actually. Maybe setelah siaran mungkin you can show me some of your arts.
Sure, as long as it won't scare you.
Yeah. And maybe this last question from me. You mentioned before that you really like spiritual
things.
Yeah. So, do you have any experiences with that things?
I will say I have been to many countries,
Okay.
and I have experienced many mysterious things, and I don't really know if they were from spirits or they were from like something in my environment that I could not understand. So I have never yet encountered like a ghost, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I have had many things like banyak penyakit berturut-turut,
Oh.
tidak ada penjelasan secara logika.
Oh, yeah.
And so sometimes I wonder if maybe there's some energy around me yang saya belum bisa terlalu pahami begitu.
So how do you deal with that?
How do I deal with that? Well, I guess I try to learn from like local knowledge. I sometimes use my insecurities as a way of asking people questions about their personal beliefs.
Oh.
And like, for example, like in Vietnam, they believe that there are certain spirits that guard the temples or that guard the rice fields.
Yes.
And maybe here people believe that like maybe ada tempat angker.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes when I feel scared or anxious and I don't know why, sometimes I use that as an excuse to ask about stories about local culture. So people tell me about, oh, tempat ini angker karena ini. Or they tell me like, oh, this guardian spirit has a shrine here because we believe in this spirit that and maybe they have a myth behind like why they believe a particular thing. So I still don't know what I believe. I still don't know. I just
Yes.
but I'm open to stories from everywhere, and it's not my place to judge what is right or wrong.
Yes. There's no rights or wrong. It's just like, okay, we respect that. Or something
we
like that.
respect that because several things art cannot explain with the logic and science, with science and logic. So yeah, that's okay. We can raise with that. So do you believe like that kind of things?
Do I believe? Yes. So I believe that human beings are limited in our ability to process our environment. And I learned that especially in Indonesia. And like in Los Angeles, everything is concrete. We are closed off in a lot of ways from our environment. Here in Indonesia, there are trees, there are bugs, there are birds, there are animals, there are mosquitoes, and there are so many things that we cannot explain.
Oh yeah.
And so I think it makes sense that people who are connected with a nature that is very rich, like in Jogja or in Indonesia, are more sensitive to their environment than someone like me. So when someone who is connected to nature says something about spirituality or about truth, I am open to what they tell me because I know that they have more wisdom about nature than I do. Yeah. So I think the longer that I study here, the more I am open to different interpretations of the truth.
Okay. Wow, so cool ya. Kayak banyak sekali experience dari Mbak Julin ya selama di Indonesia, apalagi hal-hal yang berkaitan dengan supranatural seperti itu ya Mbak Julin. Okay, I think it's last minute. In the last minute, I wanna ask you the really last questions.
Okay.
Okay. So I heard that you're going to go your hometown this week or next weeks. So what's your future plan after this?
After I finish my graduate study.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I would like to become a professor of comparative literature or creative research methods. I think that literature and storytelling is an amazing way to learn about another culture.
Okay.
And I don't know if I will be a professor in the United States or in Latin or in Indonesia or in Italy or in Latin America. I have no idea. But I do know that I will be a much better teacher if I finish my PhD. And so langkah demi langkah, I will finish that first.
Oh wow, cool.
So inspired me.
Yeah, it's really inspired me. And maybe you have to traveling all around in Indonesia area, maybe because Indonesia is real large area, so maybe tidak semua tempat bisa dijelajahi di waktu yang singkat.
Betul sekali. Saya hanya ada sempat melihat wilayah Jawa Tengah saja, sama dengan sedikit wilayah Jawa Timur dan Flores Timur, sedikit Sumba juga. But ke Sulawesi belum. Sumatera sedikit.
Kalimantan.
I've been to
Borneo.
I have not been to Kalimantan. I have not been to Papua. So as someone who's interested in interagama, I'm also interested in Maluku, but I've never been there. So there are many places I would like to go, but life is short. I encourage anyone who is in Indonesia and who is interested in culture, like there's just a world of diversity and stories in this country, and you will never get bored.
Yes.
Yeah, there's beauty everywhere. So,
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so maybe because we have limited time, so we need to end our discussion, our sharing session here. Yeah,
maybe we can continue after this.
Not
this time, not
this time. So I think that's all from us. So yeah, I would like to say thank you to Mbak Julie since you want to be our interviewer. So thank you so much because you meluangkan waktunya untuk jadi narasumber kami.
Yes.
Thank you so much for welcoming me here. Jogja has always been a very special place, and you obviously are part of a very special program. I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And juga I would like to say thank you to pihak-pihak yang bertugas di belakang layar seperti Pak Kun, Akmal dan juga Zia. Terima kasih juga kepada warga budaya yang telah mendengarkan dan menyaksikan podcast kita hari ini. Semoga bermanfaat dan bisa memberikan inspirasi yang banyak untuk para pendengar begitu. Jadi mungkin kita bisa langsung akhiri saja program hari ini. Kita pamit undur diri dan kita pamit undur suara. Sampai jumpa di siaran berikutnya. Bye bye.
Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani Ngaglik Lembang. Inilah Radio BBM, jaringan radio komunitas Yogyakarta.
Community Radio BBM FM, Creation for Nation.
Radio Komunitas BBM FM. Dukunglah budaya Indonesia.
Selamat jumpa warga budaya. You are listening to BBM FM Community Radio, Yogyakarta, Indonesia.
Terima kasih. Anda sedang mendengarkan Radio Komunitas BBM FM 107,7 MHz.
Dipancarkan dari kawasan Balai Budaya Minomartani, Radio Komunitas BBM.